Welcome, everyone. Shannon, always good to see you. Yeah. Christiana, Lisa, welcome. As you know, this is our monthly Reinvention Rx call, and we have a guest speaker, Heather Holmgren, who will be joining us today. So we're going to just let a few people filter in. Some of you may or may not know this. We have a mailing list of over 650 people who come onto this newsletter or this email so that they know when we're going to have these meetings. And we get to have a lot of them listen afterward. So no matter how many people show up today, we know they're listening because they actually come into Discovery Calls after. So we don't know how many we'll have today, but welcome those of you who are here. And if you want to go into chat, let us know where you're calling in from. We'd love to hear. Christiana, I don't know where you are today. It could be Germany. It could be Egypt. It could be Southern Utah, wherever you reign from. So go ahead and let us know where you're coming in from.
We've got Salt Lake and Oregon and Nab, Southern Utah. If we get new ones, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. Welcome. And since it's about 3 minutes after, we're going to start. So I am going to kick this off. We are talking today about transition and change and the layers of transition and change. And they are the same for many types of transition. So one of the things that I haven't shared with our audience very freely, a few people on the inside circle know this, but I recently, and I'm going to show my t-shirt here. This is what I've been focusing on, outgrowing your own BS. And earlier this year, I did something which was super difficult. As soon as we launched the book, I recognized that my primary relationship was not serving me any longer. And I ended a 15-year relationship, which has put me into a great position this year of seeing where my BS is and outgrowing it, which has put me into transition mode. So being single again at age 64, when you don't think you're going to be single ever again, was a news to me, but something that also aligned with my values and my needs. So I am in the trenches again with the same layering for the same kinds of transitions that I've always used in career transition whenever I've changed my working identity. So I want you to know that our guest today is coming from the therapy world. She has a lot of experience with assisting and healing and a lot of wisdom as a human being. One of the things that I appreciate about Heather is she is extremely forthright. She's transparent. This honesty is so attractive that she now has created not just her own therapy practice, but she has enough tenacity and enough business, I would say, savvy to create a place where other therapists can plug in and use her modalities, use some of her structure. And so she's a woman who has really developed herself to be transformative, to listen and change as time requires or asks her and doesn't ignore that. She's also very brave, and she does it on her own timeline. This is something that I think is extremely important. She's doing it on her own timeline, and transition requires that you find out your timeline. So, Heather, is there anything really special about you? I think about our last conversation and how we talked about liberation and the space. You taught me a few things just in our conversation. Is there anything you want to add as you come off mute and that I may have missed in the introduction that you think it would be helpful for our listening audience to know about you today?
Oh, thanks so much, Lynn. It's really nice to hear someone hold up a mirror for you and say things that are just like so kind. And, I think that one of the things that I want to say and that we might like evolve into is the difference between kind of knowing what you know and helping others, and then what it means to be inside of yourself and know nothing, I guess, like know nothing, forget. And I think that I went through a really special process with you of like discovering how to remind myself of what I know and how to apply that to myself and in the situation I was in.
Well, let's
And-
go through that. Let's tell that story. So for those of you who are on this call, Heather has her own career transition story. And so share what you feel is relevant for the audience to know that before we talk about those layers of change that everybody will face or are facing.
Yeah, I mean, Linda, you did such a lovely job of describing where I am right now professionally in my group practice, employing other therapists. And I came into the like employer space, not as intentionally as I would have done if I could have a do-over. And I loved my work as a practitioner in a private practice setting, having my own space, being able to do a lot of like really resonant and creative things. And I just, there was just an intense need to like duplicate myself. And I also wanted to share what I was experiencing, which was like so amazing and so beautiful, and being able to connect with people and just work with some of the best, what I felt like were the best clients in the city. And so that's how I began to expand. It wasn't, oh, I'm this great business person, I know all these things, but it was just kind of like, I think I can do this. And so I started, and as anyone knows who is an entrepreneur, has an entrepreneurial spirit, or has employed people, or has been like a manager of people, who has been managed, I think all of us, things happen that are like real hits to the ego and are super challenging. And those things were happening for me, especially the last several years. And I was asking myself, like, is this what I want to do? Does this, I feel like I'm not good at this. Like, why am I doing this? The things that I thought I was good at, like, I'm just okay at, and so, you know, I reached out to you, Lynn, because I was feeling like I didn't know what to do, but I was in pain. I was in emotional pain. I was in professional discomfort, and I knew something needed to change, but I didn't know what it was going to be, and I didn't know how to do it. And I just felt a real mess, very chaotic. And I wanted to immediately move into action. So, you know, this is the change process that I want to be able to like insert into our conversation today and to discuss, because again, like if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, if you work in like coaching, or for me, like in a therapy space, or like in other types of like service-oriented businesses, we immediately go to like, have a problem, how do I fix it? And I knew that isn't how change works, that it's a little bit more complicated than that, that the minute you realize that there's a problem, you go from, and you had mentioned something else on the email, and I don't know if it's the same as the model that I have in my brain, which is the Prochaska and DiClemente trans-theoretical model of change. But according to this model, it says you go from pre-contemplation, I'm not even thinking about needing to change, or I'm in denial about a change that needs to happen, into contemplation, going, oh, I'm in pain. I need something to change. I need something to be different. I don't know what that is. So like step one, but only step one.
Yeah. Should we pull that up and look at it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so the transition model that we mentioned in the marketing piece that a lot of you ran into is William Bridges' transition model, which often comes after you've had the awareness. But I want to bring this up. So tell us again where this originated from.
Yeah, this model originated from, and this is a slightly like updated version of the model, but it came from two people, Prochaska and DiClemente, back in the 1970s, and it evolved through studies that were examining the experiences of smokers who quit on their own and those who needed further treatment to quit. They
Mhm.
wanted to understand what is the difference between these two groups, ones that would quit on their own and ones who needed extra help. And
Okay.
they really determined that the people who were able to quit on their own were just ready to do it. I mean, as simple as that. And so they began to like extrapolate this model from those experiences and understanding like, oh, the people who were ready to quit were in the action stage of change. And the
Mhm.
people who needed a little more help were moving through this process and were a little bit behind the rest.
They were in pre-contemplation or maybe contemplation. So let's talk about this because Heather, I think this is so true. When you came into reinvention, you were feeling emotional pain and some kind of discomfort, and it was causing chaos. And people on the call may be able to relate to that. When I made the call to end a 15-year relationship that I felt like at points along the way were going to be, this was it. This was going to be my forever partner. What I was dealing with, and that is, I think, less common, is almost a nameless, ambiguous loss. Like there was more missing than what was actually there to tag and say that's causing me pain and discomfort. There was more like the missing piece was causing the pain and discomfort, but it was hard to put the finger on what was the missing piece. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And okay, and so in this pre-contemplation, I want people to know that your body keeps score, your nervous system understands, and this is why some people leave the thing they've been doing for years and go into reinvention mentally and emotionally before they start to do it physically. Would you agree with that, Heather?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much that's happening subconsciously or unconsciously,
Right.
or even that we're resisting. I think like that's something that's really interesting. These signs, but it's kind of like, it's like people joke about red flags and things like that. We get these like red and yellow flags, but we're not quite ready to go there.
Yeah, we resist, we get in denial. I think that's why I was willing to wear the shirt today that said, outgrowing my own BS, because for a long time I could tell myself, just keep going. And then pretty soon you get to a place where either it sucked you in or you've decided, no, I can't keep going. And so when you came in, would you say you were in the determination place or were you in the contemplation place?
I think I was toggling between the two. And I want to add like this model will also say that determination is preparation, that they're synonymous in that particular stage. I think I was a little bit of both, but I think there was a lot that I didn't realize I needed to discover and learn about myself before I could actually truly prepare or like get into that determination space.
Right.
I was in determination about something needs to change, and seeing Lynn is a part of that. But that is kind of as far as I went.
As far as you went. Okay. So this might be interesting. I'm going to exit from this for just a second so we can see this. But if you're listening, and I'll go back to it in just a second. When I flash it up on the screen, please go to chat and tell us where you feel like you are in this model. Okay, so I'll put it back up. And where do you feel like you guys are on the journey for your own reinvention? And Shannon Judge or Shannon D, those of you who follow us often, Shannon Judge is one of our reinvention coaches. Shannon D runs the operations. It's not a requirement to be named Shannon to work for SoulSalt, but it doesn't hurt. So if you see some things coming in, Shannon, let us know what you're seeing as far as where our audience feels like they are in this cycle. And what do you want to, what else, where else do you want to take us with this, Heather?
I guess where I want to take us is just understanding that, and this is something I say to my clients all the time, that I have a belief that contemplation is the most important stage of change. And if anyone has, I think like one of the easiest examples to like put this change cycle through is like losing weight or eating healthier, like this thing that so many people do year after year. And it's like, oh, if I say, well, I'm going to just go on a diet and I'm going to cut a bunch of calories, I immediately move into action in that way. And I begin tracking things and creating a spreadsheet. I've moved right into action, and I might not even understand, like, what is it about this that has been difficult for me in the past? What kind of things might I need to do to ease myself into this? How can I get to the maintenance phase and actually maintain? Or how can I get into action and know that I can continue to do this? And I literally did this, like, this is working out is something that has always been really hard for me. I've not been consistent since I've been an adult. And I went through this process here where I was literally like, well, I know if I go and get a gym membership, I'm going to quit in a month. Like, it's going to happen. It's happened too many times. I already know myself. So it was a lot of contemplation and preparation around, you know, what's the simplest, easiest thing that I can do that would be hard to talk myself out of? I have to take my dog for a walk every day. So it's like, can I just, you know, eventually, if my goal is I'm working out, you know, 3 days a week, what is like the simplest thing that I can do that it's really going to be hard to talk myself out of? I could take my dog for a walk. And then once I was doing that, with a little more consistency, I think we're all getting the emergency.
We are. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was coming during this call. I knew it was coming today.
Little startling. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just a test. It's just a test. I know it is.
And then once I am doing that, I can say, like, okay, now I'm doing the dog walking on a regular basis. What else might I want to experiment with? Well, I could go to do a class pass for a month, and I could take a bunch of different kinds of workout classes and see what I might like.
Yeah.
So anyway, just talking through this process, and you can see, like, maybe if full action is like I'm working out 3 to 5 days a week. This isn't exactly what it looks like, but I'm in the contemplation, determination, maintenance phase, or sorry, not maintenance, preparation phase. And I do want to announce that I have been working out almost every day for the last 2 years. It is.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but it was spending so much time in contemplation and determination / preparation that has allowed me to be in the kind of maintenance that I never thought I was ever going to be in my life. In regards to this, like, reinvention experience, I really wanted to be in action. I wanted to be making more money. I wanted to be having fun. I wanted to be not dealing with BS per your shirt. And I just wanted, you know, also, like, to never have just, like, understand all the things I need to understand about myself, so I could be, like, translated and in self-actualization, no pain. And it just was not going to work that way. And I put in my little thing, I'm still in, like, contemplation, determination, but so much has unfolded. So much information is still coming to me, and it is happening in a much more thoughtful, natural way that I just know when I'm in action that it's going to be the right thing. It's going to be the right thing.
This is awesome. So I feel like you've answered some things. We spent a lot of time in the SoulSalt methodology and reinvention of really getting into contemplation and getting into the why and figuring out who you are. And then we move to action. And I just had an epiphany in my own transition from being partnered for 15 years to being single again. I spent years in the contemplation. Years, like the last 3 years, looking at it. And when I made that decision, it was within a 24-hour period where I knew finished. Had I not had that much contemplation, I don't think I could have thrown myself into, thrown the bullshit flag as fast as I did. So this is really a great, and you also, Heather, I'm going to say this too. Anyone coming in, listening today, some of you, maybe even 50% of you, and I'm going to include myself in that, we have a tendency to use speed as our strategy. And so we go right to action, we go right to determination, and we don't do enough contemplation. 50% of the people on the call potentially slow down and are more deliberate, and they spend a lot of time, almost to the point where some of you get frozen in indecision, analysis paralysis. So just know this could also be very individual too. And for you, Heather, your skill set, your strengths are things around contemplating before taking action. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hard to remember though when it's inside of you and you want to be out of pain.
Yeah. I'm looking, we have people coming in from London today. We have people in the determination, a lot of people in determination. Looks like Christiana is re-entering. She had relapse and entering maintenance. That's really cool. So go ahead and take us through the rest. How does action, relapse, because I will say this, in the Bridges model that we refer to often in our reinvention course, if you abort the change cycle too soon, you have to go back and start at the pre-contemplation. Like you have to go back and do the whole cycle again. Is that the case with this model?
No, I mean, like it says at the bottom there, you can exit and re-enter at any stage, and relapse might not necessarily be a part of this, or you could even add in lapse, like you're in action and then all of a sudden you're back to preparation or contemplation. Something in the process didn't quite work.
So then you cycle through it again.
Yeah. But you can enter back in at, or re-implement whatever you were doing before at any phase of the process. And yeah, again, like I think like the most important piece of this for me is like just spending time doing the work so that when you are ready to step into action, that it's natural, or it makes sense to you, or whatever that is.
Yeah. I'm going to give 5 strategies that the research shows you can use when you're in the action. And like you just said, Heather, is it okay? Is this a good place to put it? So when you're in the action, sometimes you're like, I want to do more, or I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. So 5 things you can do. One is make sure you have your mentors, your coach, you have people close to you that you stay in touch with, because you want to make sure that you have people who care about you and you have your support structure. Another, and also that you don't get caught in what I call your own navel lint and seeing it the way you see it instead of having people give you input. One of the first things I did when I made the first transition is I went to Shannon and one other confidant and I said, where are my blind spots? I want to know, where's the BS? And so I think you have to have those people to keep you from going down a rabbit hole. Next one is stay creative. It doesn't matter where you create. If it's an adult coloring book, if it is cooking, if it is finding out how to make kites. If you are creative, that creative juice can flow in anytime in this cycle and give you new life. You just need to stay pumped. And maybe you take your eye off the reinvention for a while and you go create something. Stay learning. Listen to podcasts, go watch YouTubes, audiobooks. As long as you're learning, there will be phrases that come to you that you need just when you need them. The next one is take some risks, try some things you haven't tried before, stick your neck out. This might be scary. Heather, you did that. You had to try some risks. And the last one is keep going, because you can see this cycle can keep you safe. So anything you want to add to those strategies that help people stay in action?
No, I mean, I think that's beautifully said. I love all of those things. And I love too that it allows you to stay into action with like a sense of like vibrancy and excitement, that it's not just this grind that you're in, but there's ways that like you're checking in with yourself and you're like really engaging with yourself.
Yeah.
So good.
So where you are right now, let's say where you are in your reinvention story, how would you describe, maybe if we're wayfinding, where are you and what's happening?
I was just thinking about that. Right now, I'm solidly in determination or preparation, however you want to look at it. And as you recall, and we spent a lot of time really looking at what I love and what I'm really good at, like in the contemplative stage of change, and
Yep.
maybe the ways that I was spending my time doing things that I was good enough at. Like I have spent so much time the last 10 years pouring my energy into doing things that I am just okay at. And this is a huge part of like what was, I believe, creating a lot of discomfort and unhappiness for me that I was like participating in. And really understanding that and having more like peace and acceptance around that, and like joy and movement toward those things that I am really good at, has helped me like regain a lot of not just confidence, but also understanding of like, again, how to prepare or like create determination toward action.
Mhm.
And I was getting a lot of signs. I don't know how you want to look at that, like signs from the universe or signs from yourself or whatever, about like, stop, slow down, no. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted the solution. I wanted to understand myself. I wanted to move. But the more I gave myself permission to go backwards, to restructure my schedule so I had more time to take better care of myself, to really do a version of doing nothing. I was so scared of doing nothing, but like that nothing was really getting to a place where I could have a clear head, a clear heart, a better understanding of myself so that I could move forward. So I am like barely emerging from the do nothing space, but I
Great.
just 2 days ago talked to someone for something that I'm volunteering for. And I learned that she is an operations person in an aligning field, and does consultations. And this is the thing that I'm so bad at, that I've been spending my time doing so much. And it's like, now I have set up a consultation with this person in the perfect timing. Another part of like that determination piece, getting me out of what I'm not good at into trusting someone else who is amazing at that, being able to move forward in a different way. So like just one of so many examples of
Right.
how spending that time in that space has really helped me.
So you're still in process, but you're taking your practice now as an entrepreneur who owns a business, then it was kind of consuming you. You've spent time in that sabbatical leave or that do nothing space, or I would call it an alert intermission, where you're aware of signs showing up, staying creative, keep learning those things I just mentioned. And then something showed up. What you needed showed up when you were ready. And so you're still trying to figure out, how will I reinvent my career? But you're further along in the change model because you paused, right? Okay. So let's go through this because we have people asking. Let's go through all of it and explain all of these steps in the model.
Yeah. So pre-contemplation is the stage of change when you're not thinking about a change that you need to make for one reason or another. You don't feel like you need to change, you're not ready, you're not aware. Contemplation is the stage of change where you go, uh-oh, or something needs to be different. It might not even be an uh-oh, it just might be, I'm ready to move into a different phase of things. But it's this awareness that a change needs to take place, even if you don't know exactly what that is. Determination, I've also called preparation, is getting ready to make that change by maybe setting up systems, by getting mentally ready, by hiring a coach, by setting up systems. I think I maybe already said that. And then action is like go time. You're doing the thing that you wanted to do. You are in the reinvention, fully embodying that, understanding all the pieces of that, in this case, or something else. Like I gave the example of like action being, I'm working out 3 days a week. Your goal is in place. And then relapse may or may not happen. It doesn't have to be part of your process of change, but we know that's like, again, oh, okay, I'm like trying to eat differently, and I might introduce something into my diet that, as a processed food, and I'm trying to move toward not eating any processed foods or something. Silly example, but there you go. So that might be considered a relapse. And then maintenance is, I've taken action for so long, but this is just a normal part of my routine now. This is just who I am, what I do, the way I live my life. But you can see it says like entering at pre-contemplation. I think that definitely is an entry point when you're not sure you need to make a change. But like it says at the bottom, you can exit or re-enter at any stage, and that a relapse or a lapse might not be part of the process, but like can be, sometimes is.
Yeah. Okay, this is really great. So while you're in this, I'm going to go back to Jamie's question about the 5 strategies. One is stay creative. So have some creative things you do. Take a cooking class, an art class. Just stay creative, keeps the juices. And as you said, Heather, I love that word, keep you vital and vibrant, because you need to feed the reinventor with good stuff. The next one would be keep learning. Podcasts, anything that you can learn. So you're continuously learning. Look at Heather. She went to some kind of event, and there was that operation person that she was learning. She was expanding herself, and the things she needed showed up because of that situation. So stay learning. Another one is take risks, stick your neck out, try things you haven't done before. Keep your coach mentoring, your inner posse. You have people on speed dial, if that still exists, but you have your little posse that you check in with so that you don't go down a dark tunnel. Because when we're reinventing, you can get so much in your head that you miss that you've made progress, or you miss when you're spinning out. So have those people. And then the last one is persist. Keep going. It can take 18 months. It can take 5 years. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but it might take 18 months. It might take 6. 6 is the fastest we see people make a complete reinvention. So make sure you're earning while you're learning. So I think that clarifies that. Why don't we ask people if they have a question? I'm going to stop sharing really quick. And then if you need me to bring this back up, Heather, do we have folks on the call that have a question for Heather, for myself, for Shannon Judge? Shannon, are you able to come on now, Shannon Judge? No. Okay. So Shannon might have to respond by chat. So what questions do you have that you would like to have answered, or what would you like to share that might be useful for other people to hear today? Yeah. While you're doing that, Shannon, Dee, would you get Simply Modern? Would you get the contact for that? Because that is Heather's company. It is a rock star company. When I started to go through my transition this year with relationship, I hired one of Heather's therapists. I knew right where to go, and I have been delightfully pleased. So Shannon D is going to put that in there. So what questions do you guys have about your own reinvention or where you are? We got some people writing in chat. Heather, I have a question for you. What were some of the things that you asked yourself before somebody else comes on, or while they're coming on, that helped you figure out your reason? You kind of contemplated and you knew you were going, but then you had to plug into like a why. How did you arrive at that?
Like why I wanted to make a change?
Yeah, because it seems like you really had to plug into, why am I doing this?
I wasn't having fun anymore. And I feel so lucky to do what I do. Like, I love the people that I get to work with. I love that my job allows me to continue to learn. And that was not computing for me, that I should be having fun, and I'm not having fun anymore. I'm miserable. I need to do something different. But it was literally that, like, I need to do something different. And I have things that I want to do, but I don't know if that's the right thing. I feel like I can't add to my life because I'm so busy and I'm so burned out. It was literally like, I don't know what to do, but I know something needs to change because I'm not having fun anymore.
Okay, so it was kind of like me and having that almost ambiguous loss of was what was missing, that you were like, can I live without that? And it sounds like you could not live without that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the tricks, watched another one of your reinvention calls, and this person also made this point, which I think is so interesting, that that we start doing something and it's like either financially lucrative or we've been doing it so long that we just continue to talk ourselves into doing that same thing. Like, this is why this makes sense. I've seen people, I work with a lot of people having relationship problems, and that's like a common theme as well. Like, well, I'm this many years in, or, we've got the kids and, 3 more years until they're 18, or just sort of this sense of like, I've just got to keep doing this, or people who are in jobs that they really dislike. And it's like, if I'm having to talk myself and bend my mind around like why this should work when it's not working, I don't know. For me, that's a sign that maybe I'm moving into like a contemplative stage of change.
Yeah, that was a trigger for me. There was a big ask of something that I needed to shift into, that I asked myself, why am I the one twisting myself into a pretzel to make this work? And that helped me go, that must be a no. If I'm the one that has to go against my values, which I won't do, I think that's really good. So when you guys are sitting where you are, think about what the thing that you're tied to is asking you to give up, and which parts of your best self can't show up. And then ask yourself if it's worth it. Even for another 6 months, is it worth it? Because the cost, we see a lot of people getting sick. We see a lot of people disengaging with life in general, getting depressed, all kinds of things, right? Yeah.
Well, and it's like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that are stress, but it's like, are we in distress or are we in eustress? Like, is this the kind of stress that is like invigorating or moving me to the next thing that I want? Or like, am I distressed? Is it
Talk to that, because we've got somebody wondering about that. What's the difference between those two, de-stress or distress, or what was the other stress?
eustress? So eustress is, I try to avoid using the word like positive or negative, but it's like we're doing something that's creating a kind of stress in our life, or is a stressor, but it's to get somewhere that we're really excited to get to. So like, if anyone's gone through the home buying process, you're going to know there's so much stress involved in that. If anyone has really felt called to raise children and has been in that or is in that, that it's oftentimes stressful, and yet there's this sort of like, but it's like, I'm doing this because I want to do this. Or you change jobs, or you get into you move in with someone, you go to college, or you take a challenging course or an exam, you take on a promotion. These are all examples of eustress, EUSTRESS. And distress are things that bring like, it's like disease, discomfort.
Yeah.
Like, I can't get out of bed. I am having like depressive symptoms. I'm having panic attacks. I mean, these are more extreme examples, right? But even like the distress is like, I'm not having fun anymore. This doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah. Life has lost its vitality and its vibrancy, right? Well, our time is coming to a close. We have been fed with a lot of wisdom and some knowledge about this cycle. And you can see Simply Modern Therapy, you can do this remotely, right? So if you're looking for a good therapist, the people at Heather's company are just high quality. You will be pleased. You will find someone that she has vetted, that has their act together. So look into that or pass that on to somebody who might be looking for a therapist that could access Zoom calls. I think you guys use Google Meet, don't you? I'm trying to remember what you
You
use.
use Google Meet, but I will say that therapists are required to be licensed in the state that the client is residing in. So we do have some therapists that are licensed in states other than Utah, but we're primarily in Utah.
What are the other states, just out of curiosity?
North Carolina, Colorado, and I can't remember the other one. Missouri. There we go.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. As you guys leave, we would love you to go into chat and tell us one thing you're taking with you, and recognize that we are here monthly for you in your reinvention journey. This is free. And if you know other people that are in the same boat as you, reinventing and trying to figure out what's next, it could be a personal identity, it could be a working identity. Find out, if you find that from another person, send them our way. This will be free. We do it monthly. And next month, Shannon Judge will be leading our calls. So Heather, thank you. And please go to chat. Let us know what was working and what you're going to take with you. It's been a delight, Heather. We've learned so much. I love this new model. I love seeing the pieces to it. And thank you, everybody, for being part of this today.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone.